So you're sitting in your house in New England or New Jersey or California or Florida, and you're thinking, I gotta get out of here. I wanna go somewhere new. I've been checking out North Carolina, and Cary and Apex look absolutely amazing. I think I'm gonna go there. And you start searching Zillow and you say, holy cow, I think I can get a lot more bang for my buck out there. I think I can get a house between $500,000 and $750,000 that I absolutely love. But wait a minute. As I'm watching these houses on Zillow, they're closing for more than they actually were listed for. What's going on with this? So you head over to North Carolina and you start looking at houses, and then boom, you found the one. You found the perfect one, the perfect house in Cary or Apex, somewhere in this Raleigh area. And then your agent calls with the words every buyer dreads right now. We're in a multiple offer situation. Just like that. It's not about the house anymore. It's about winning. And here's the thing nobody tells you. In this market, buyers often feel like they lose whether they win or lose. When you lose, you're heartbroken. You didn't get the house you wanted. But then when you win, you're paranoid that you overpaid. I have walked dozens of families through this exact situation. And today I'm going to show you how to make an offer you can feel good about no matter what the ultimate outcome is. We're covering 3 things today. Number 1, a data framework that tells you exactly what a competitive offer looks like at your price point in your location. A 2-question stress test I walk every buyer through before we hit send on their offer. And the other terms beyond price that can actually win you a house when you don't want to go to the top of your range. By the end of this video, you will have a rock-solid strategy, not just a wing and a prayer, in multiple offer situations. Here we go. Hey everybody, I'm Heather Taylor, founder of Tailored Realty Group, where we create real estate experiences tailored to who? That's right, tailored to you. Let's start with the data, because data is what turns an emotional decision into a strategic one. Every month I track 2 specific numbers for each town and each price point. These 2 are the only 2 numbers you need when you're sitting down to write an offer in a multiple offer situation. The first is the average over asking price. This is your reality check. Now, right now in most towns, that number is sitting between 2 and 3%. What that tells you is that most winning bidders aren't going crazy, they're being calculated. So on a $500,000 house, 2 to 3% over list price means an offer between $510,000 and $515,000. That's just $10,000 to $15,000 over asking price. It's not nothing, but it's also not freak out money. Now, the second important number is the maximum over asking price. This is your ceiling. This month, we're seeing ceilings as high as 11% in some price points. So on that same $500,000 house, 11% over is a $555,000 offer. That ceiling number represents what I call the unicorn offer. That's when you find that specific house that's so perfect, so irreplaceable, that you're willing to go to the absolute edge for it. The cul-de-sac backing up to a nature preserve that hasn't come on the market in 10 years, that house. Knowing your reality check number and your ceiling number completely reframes the question you're asking yourself. Instead of how much do I have to pay to get this house, you ask, is this a 2% house or an 11% house? A 2% house is a great home. It's well priced, it's in a good location, but there are others like it. And another one will come along in a few months if this one doesn't work out. An 11% house, though, that is the one. That's the lot that doesn't exist anywhere else. It's the correct school zone. It's the yard your kids would love to grow up in. And it's just the one you genuinely would regret not having for the next 10 years. So if you offer the average and you lose to an 11% bid, you didn't lose the game. You chose not to play that particular game. And that's a completely valid, rational, and financially sound decision. You can walk away knowing you made a disciplined choice based on the house, not the heat of the moment. The takeaway is have your agent, preferably me, pull the average and the ceiling for your specific town and price point before every multiple offer conversation. Decide which category this particular house falls into, and your offer terms follow based on that answer. Okay, so we've established that data is step 1, but data alone does not protect you from waking up the next morning feeling sick about what you did or didn't do. That's what this section is for. Multiple offers are emotionally exhausting, and I want to be honest with you about that up front here. There's always the chance that you could have gone a little higher and you didn't, and you lost. And then there's the version where you got the house, but you spent the entire next day wondering if you left $10,000 on the table. Both of those situations feel bad, and both of those are completely normal emotions. This is why before we ever hit send on an offer, I walk every single one of my buyers through what I call the next day test. It's 2 questions, takes 2 minutes, and it changes everything. Question 1 is the loss question. If we find out tomorrow that you lost this house by $1,000, are you going to be okay with that? Or are you going to be kicking yourself? If the answer is I'd be kicking myself, then we really haven't found your limit yet. There's more room. We need to keep talking. If the answer is I'd be totally fine with that, then you've made a smart, capped offer. You've defined your ceiling, and whatever happens, you've stayed in control of your finances. Question number 2 is the win question. If we find out tomorrow that we won, but the next closest offer was $10,000 below yours, are you going to feel grateful that you got the house, or are you going to be mad that you overpaid? If the answer is grateful, you're not offering too high. You know what the house is worth to you, and the gap doesn't bother you. Now, if the answer is I'd be upset, then we need to figure out which scenario bothers you more, losing by a little or winning by a lot. Whichever one stings less is where your number should actually land. Talking through both those questions before we submit your offer does something really important. It means that when the emotions actually hit, and they will hit, they feel normal and manageable instead of shocking. You've already lived through both outcomes in your head. You made a decision you understood, and that's the difference between a strategy and hope, which we know is not a strategy at all. Now, we need to go over one other thing before we wrap up, and this matters especially if you're not willing to go to the top of your price range, but you still really want the house. Now, I'm not going to blow smoke here. Price wins most of the time, but price doesn't win all of the time. And there are sellers who are not purely motivated by the highest price out there. Here's what you can adjust beyond price. First is your due diligence fee. In North Carolina, this is the non-refundable fee a buyer pays upfront to take the house off the market during the inspection period. A higher due diligence fee signals serious commitment. It tells the sellers you're not a tire kicker, and let's face it, it puts a lot of money in their pocket if you back out. So in a competitive situation, a significantly higher due diligence fee can sometimes tip a close call in your favor. Next is closing day. Now let's remember, sellers are people too, and they have lives. Some of them need to close quickly, and some of them don't want to close as quickly, and some of them want a really long closing. So matching your timeline to theirs costs you nothing and can actually be a deciding factor when offer prices are close. And finally, I want to talk about rent back. This is where you close on the house, but let the seller stay as a tenant for a set period of time, usually a few weeks. For a seller who needs the proceeds from the sale of his house or her house in order to close on their next home, offering a rent back can remove a huge logistical problem. It can be worth thousands of dollars in goodwill in a multiple offer situation. Now, most of the time, the highest price wins, but occasionally you can structure the right combination of terms that effectively override a slightly higher price. Talk to your agent about what this specific seller situation looks like, because getting that information can shape this strategy. Okay, so to recap, here is the full picture. Before you make your next multiple offer, pull the average and the ceiling for your town and price point. Decide whether this house is a 2% house or an 11% house, and then run the next day test on both possible outcomes. And make sure you've had a real conversation with your agent about terms beyond price. That's a strategy you can rely on. You found a house in a competitive market. You deserve to make an offer with a clear head, a defined limit, and zero regrets about the process, regardless of the outcome. If you're ready to navigate this competitive market with a plan instead of using hope as a strategy, click the link in my description or on my website to schedule a free consultation. I'd love to talk through this stuff with you. And if you found this information helpful, hit subscribe. I put this kind of content out all the time. Drop a comment below and tell me, are you in the middle of a search right now, or are you just getting started? How do you feel about multiple offers? I'm not sure I want to know everyone's feelings, but what the heck? Put them in the comments below. That's all I've got for you this week. Thanks for hanging out with me. I will talk to you later. Bye.